Hi everyone, welcome to our episode of Words Unveiled, author conversation with White Falcon. I am Nancy Gupta from Team White Falcon Publishing, and today we have Dr. Bharat Patel with us. Dr. Patel has served with distinction in various executive positions in New Jersey state government for 4 decades. He was instrumental in developing and implementing the state sustainable energy, commerce, and economic policies and plans. In addition to the publishing numerous policy papers and articles, he has served as an adjunct professor of electrical engineering at the New Jersey Institute of Technology. Having learned Sanskrit very young age, the author has been a devout student of Upanishads and Srimad Bhagavad Gita to over 6 decades. Hi sir, thanks for joining us today. Yeah. So, we would like to know how this journey of writing a book of Bhagavad Gita started.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to be with you. My respectful namaskar to all the viewers. I thought it would be appropriate for the viewers to know that I have been residing in the United States for over 55 years. However, I was born and raised in India. For the first 22 years of my life in an adhyatmic family, being mostly educated in the Jesuit system, except for 3 years of engineering college. I was fortunate in my childhood to learn Sanskrit from Sri Kashiram Shastri, father of the late Keka Shastri, the Bhishma Pita of the Sanskrit world of Gujarat. In those earlier developmental years, I was blessed to be exposed to some great thinkers of the past, particularly Sri Adi Shankaracharya, Sri Ramanujacharya, and some of the modern era, especially Swami Vivekananda, Swami Atmanand Muni of Pushkar, and Swami Chinmayanand. The words of Swami Atmanand Muni and Sri Adi Shankaracharya have greatly influenced my thinking. After I came to the United States in 1968, earned master's and doctoral degrees in electrical engineering, and had a successful career as a senior executive in the New Jersey state government for 4 decades. My obligations towards my family having met, a time came when I decided to redirect my thinking inwards. I spent considerable time reviewing some significant contributions of Sri Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. Radhakrishnan, Sri Prabhupada, Swami Shivanand, and quite a few more. As I started to compare their publications, I found that some interpreted Gita to further their perspective, where verses appeared inconsistent with their views. They treated them as minor and did not give due importance in their comments. The 700 verses in 18 chapters have come from the Srimukh of Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Right.
And I thought, why should there be any conflict between the words, verses, and chapters? There is no reason why Bhagwan would want to confuse us. Correctly interpreted, every word should be consistent within the verse and with the verses before and after in the same chapter and previous and subsequent chapters. With the lockdown of 2020 due to COVID-19, I found blessings in disguise. My long-term desire at last became a reality. So at the beginning of March 2020, I started to pen my thoughts on the intent of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, starting particularly with what was intended in the meaning of the term yoga in Gita. Is there a mutually harmonious connection between Gita chapters and verses? What does Gita mean by the term yoga? In my writing, I have reviewed and provided comments on how the term karma yoga is interpreted by some, which meets the test of their thinking, particularly in those Gita verses where karma yoga, buddhi yoga, and yoga yukta are used.
Right.
In other words, accepting that interpretation of verses, is there a harmonious connection between the words and their meanings in those verses? Words spoken in Gita are all yatharth, and there is not even an iota of arthavad. Therefore, in my analysis of the verses, it was only appropriate for me to accept the meanings of the words which are accordant with reality.
Right, sir. And I think this book will definitely encourage us to live life with purity, strength, discipline, honesty, kindness, and integrity, and will give us a way to find our purpose and how to live it fully. So, sir, there is a common example. I just want to share an example with you, which I think which many of us will able to relate with. If any individual who joins any particular organization, right, they look for a job, they ask for they just look after the benefits what they are going to get from that particular job or from that particular position, in terms of perks, in terms of remunerations, right, and many more. Simultaneously, the employer or the boss of that particular company, they are also look for the ROI, what they are spending on that particular individual. So my question is, what do you think makes the Bhagavad Gita relevant and valuable to the people living in 21st century? And how did you decipher its teaching for the modern audience?
Your question is very appropriate. In the 21st century, the relevance of the divine words of Bhagavan Shri Krishna for individuals as well as the society at large to attain immovable happiness and stability in life has become more vital than ever. In a world marked by conflicts, environmental degradation, and the erosion of moral values, the message of Gita resonates deeply. As technology advances, we must remember that true progress lies not only in scientific achievements, but in our spiritual and ethical growth. The wisdom of Gita is universal and applies to every human being, irrespective of caste, creed, color, religion, or nationality. As in the past, today, individuals undergo difficult situations in life and often become overwhelmed, confused, and misdirected. Such situations arise because of the ignorance of not knowing their own true nature and the false or the enemies residing in their own conscience, like lust, greed, anger, delusion, excessive pride, and envy. Born from this six are other evil inclinations such as arrogance, hypocrisy, fear, doubt, intolerance, attachment, aversion, and so on. Now, among them, lust is the root of all evil inclinations, and accompanied by anger and greed, thrusts one to the lowest depths. They are the three doors to the darkness of hell. They are like gentle serpents, and Gita guides individuals to forcefully abandon them through discernment, dispassion, and virtues such as control of the mind, restraint over the senses, self-withdrawal, tolerance, faith, absence of mental oscillations, and an intense desire for lasting happiness. Upon eradication of the three, the remaining evil inclinations can be easily terminated. The Western world has only talked about psychology and psychoanalysis since the 19th century. However, Vedic scriptures dating back thousands of years have provided lessons on the very issues. The dialogue between Bhagwan Shri Krishna and Arjun on the battlefield of Kurukshetra provides a classic example of psychotherapy. The resolution of conflict and successful resumption of action from a state of acute anxiety, confusion, and guilt that precipitated inaction in the first place. Here, across the battlefield, Arjun is not faced with killing enemies from different cultures or religious backgrounds, but is faced with killing people he loved and adored, and the very people who made him who he became. Lamenting over his agonizing dilemma, he says, seeing these relatives assemble eager to fight, my limbs are sinking, my face is drying up, my body is shaking, my hairs are standing on end, Gandev is slipping from my hand, my skin is burning. I cannot stand steady. My mind is wandering. I don't foresee any good in killing relatives on the battlefield. Recognizing the evil arising from family's downfall, why should we not try to save ourselves from the sins? Having said so, his mind anxious with grief, he abandoned his bow and arrows. The 7th verse of the second chapter depicts the helpless state of Arjun. Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava pruchhami tvam dharma sammuda cheta. My innate nature is affected by cowardice, and my mind is confused about beauty. Please guide me.
Right.
And the 73rd verse of the 18th chapter is a reflection of the dissolution of anxiety, worry, depression, and guilt, and preparedness for action with confidence and vigor. He says, Nashto Maha Smutir Ladda. He says, my confusion is dispelled with your grace, and being free from doubts, I shall obey your command. So when deluded and grief-stricken Arjun abandoned his weapons and became confused about his duty, Bhagwan separates Arjun's grief in three causes and provides resolution for each cause and explains that irrespective of whether it is related to the body, the Atma, or righteousness, dharma, duty, there is no reason for his grief. Now, between these two verses, the seventh verse of the second chapter and the 73rd verse of the 18th chapter, Bhagwan provides the essence of Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, weaving solutions to modern day emotional issues faced by individuals across the globe, such as anger management, purging confusion, dealing with uncontrolled mind, lust, forgetfulness, envy, death of a loved one, depression, being discriminated, being demotivated,
Right.
feeling sinful, temptation, pride, fear, greed, laziness, loneliness, losing hope, practicing forgiveness, seeking peace, among many, many others.
Right. So, yes, definitely. This book will give advice to modern day leaders and suggest important leadership quality that can be applied in daily life, right? Without becoming frustrated. Because, sir, somehow we all are working in a pattern, right? We all are working in a pattern which is irrespective to the consequences and outcome. And we should know on how to live life in most honest and best possible way. So, sir, do you think that Bhagavad Gita is often misinterpreted as per, what are the common misconceptions about the text? And also, there is one common thing which I have also heard from people around me. Like many people believe that Gita is studied only after one gets old, right? And unfortunately, many Hindus either never study Gita at all just because of these misconceptions. So, what is your say? How does you clarify them?
Yeah, very correct. Gita is often misinterpreted.
Yeah.
Swami Paramatmanand Saraswati, convener and General Secretary General of Hindu Dharma Acharya Sabha and the President of Shivanand Ashram Ahmedabad, as well Swami Nikhileshwaranand, head of the Ramakrishna Ashram in Rajkot, in their comments have said that my book has removed many misunderstandings about Gita.
Right.
Gita as a Smarta Praman, Upanishads as Shrauta Praman, and Brahma Sutra as Nyaya Praman is well noted. The two subjects of Gita, sadhan and sadhya, are nicely outlined in the book. Throughout the book, there is one threadedness, ek sutrata, of upakrama, upasamhara, abhyas, apurvata, phala, arthavad, and upapatti of each verse within the chapter, of the chapter, and with previous and subsequent chapters. This question is a very, very broad one and it's going to take me some time to respond to a lot of misconceptions.
Yes, sir.
Let me address a few misconceptions.
Mhm.
And I'm going to begin with the major one, extensively refuted in the critiques of each chapter in the book, regarding how some commentators have made a distinction between Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga,
Hmm.
and have shown them as separate and independent paths for attaining liberation. That is, they have accepted Samuchaya, a view that Nishkam Karma, desireless actions,
Right.
and knowledge are two independent and equal strength paths in the attainment of liberation, one not dependent on the other.
Hmm.
They have depicted Sankhya, Karma Sannyas, as forsaking worldly and Vedic karma, living the grahastha ashram, taking sannyas, and accepting only the path of renunciation, that is performing karma only for the sustenance of life. And they have depicted yoga as first knowing the true nature of Atma, as depicted in the Gita verses 11 through 30 of the second chapter, and only staying on the path of karma without any self-interest, doing them as a duty without the ego of doership, keeping equanimity of mind in the success or failure of fruits, and offering the resultant fruits to the Lord. Also, continue to do karma only for public well-being and public service as long as one is alive. Here, their view is that all karma has to be done as a duty. Now, in their view, liberation is possible through Sankhya. However, such a path does not do any good to the world, as it is prone to lead one to laziness and selfishness. That is their perspective. And they also think that both approaches have similar capabilities in attaining liberation, but are independent. However, considering public well-being, their postulated yoga is the best, and that is the intent of Gita in their view. And I've refuted that in the comments that I have in the critique in the book. So my question is, how can one accept that kind of position? That can never be the intention of Bhagavan, because there is no hint anywhere in Bhagavad Gita on the distinction between Sankhya and Yoga. Sankhya is the knowledge related to the body and the Atma. The cognition of knowing who are you, who is the doer, and what is the bondage of karma is Sankhya. With the firmness of this knowledge, attaining a position in one's true witness conscious Atma, becoming one with it, and losing the I-ness sense in the body is called yoga. Gita has set forth Sankhya and yoga as only one and not two independent paths. They are only one means and provide only one fruit. The only difference is in name, not in form. In the fourth verse of chapter 5, Bhagavan says, Sankhya yoga pruthak bala pravadanti na pandita. Unwise persons called Sankhya and Yoga individually separate, not persons of discrimination. One who is appropriately situated even in one acquires the fruit of both. Holding kartrutvabhina, that is doership ego, mere tyag
Right.
of karma is not karma sannyas. With the existence of the ego of relinquishment, the ego of tyag, that tyag has its fruit. Moreover, holding a doership ego, desireless karma is not yoga, because being a doer of actions, even if there is a sentiment that I do not desire fruits of my action and I offer them all to the Lord, still has its fruits. Karma sanskars permanently reside in the refuge of a doer and give fruits according to whatever sentiment the deeds are done. Where neither doership ego nor sentiments are born, how can karma sanskars be made without fruits? Now, when doership ego is burnt, even when the body's activities may be ongoing, they cannot cause fruits due to the absence of the doer. That is because there is no sentiment in them, nor do they create sanskars.
Right.
There is no doer, no sentiments, or no impressions of karma. Even while engaged in karma, that person is a true karma sannyasi and a true karma yogi. Accordingly, through the yoga of establishing the Atma with oneness and the burning of doership ego, both karma sannyas and karma yoga are attained. There is congruity and oneness between both reaching this stage, free from the doership ego, one who is fully situated in either yoga, that is pravrutti, or sankhya, that is nivrutti, attains fruit of liberation. Now, the other misconception relates to the 12th verse of the 12th chapter, marked as a Kut Shlok in tradition. Very important. A lot of people have just skimmed it.
Yes.
And this shlok says, Shreyo hi gnanam abhyasat, gnanat dhyanam vishishyate, dhyanat karma phal tyag, tyagat shanti anantaram. Here, many have interpreted that karma phal tyag provides eternal peace and is superior to meditation. If you see the commentary of major commentators, that's what they have seen. Now, let us examine whether such an interpretation is consistent with previous verses of chapter 12. The ultimate objective is to establish the mind steadfastly in the unmanifest form of Bhagavan. To attain that unmanifest form, in verse 12.8, Bhagavan says, first, fix your mind on my manifest form and let your discerning intellect be established steadfast in me alone. In verse 12.9, Bhagavan says, if you cannot concentrate your mind steadfastly on my manifest form, then through repeated efforts, instill a desire for knowledge to attain my manifest form. Only with the indirect knowledge of a thing is the success of meditation on it possible. In 12.10, Bhagavan says, if you are even unable in repeated efforts, then perform acts for my sake. Acts for my sake are like Bhagavad Arth Karma. Doing so, Rajogun, which impedes repeated efforts, will vanish. And with the departure of Rajogun, per verses 12.8 and 12.9, you can become absorbed in meditation through repeated efforts. Thereby, Siddhi, perfection, in the form of purity of the conscience, is successful. In verse 12.11, Bhagavan says, if you cannot do even this, then self-control, resorting to my yoga, relinquish all fruits of action. So the 12.11, Bhagavan says, look, give up all the fruits if you cannot do all this 8, 9, and 10, that what I've said. So the intent here is that if per verse 12.10, you cannot even perform acts for my sake, withdraw your mind and senses from the worldly objects of enjoyment and relinquish all fruits of your actions. So from this, it is clear that karma fal tyag of verse 12.11 is the lowest step in establishing the mind steadfastly in the manifest form of Bhagavan. Accordingly, karma fal tyag of the verse 12.12 cannot be the relinquishment of fruits of karma of verse 12.11, which is described as the lowest amongst the sequential order of the means. Bhagavan has considered in a lower category than meditation, repeated efforts, and Bhagavad karma, as described in verses 12.8, 12.9, and 12.10. Then how can this relinquishment of fruits, the karma fal tyag, be better than meditation? It can neither be superior to meditation, nor it can be the result of meditation. And as said in 12.12, immediate peace cannot be attained by it. However, here in 12.12, the meaning of the words karma fal tyag ought to be opined as total renunciation of all actions. Sarva karma sannyas, that is articulated in the verses 12.6 and 12.7, where Bhagavan says, Ye tu sarvani karmani mayi sanyasya matparaha ananyeva yogena mamadhyayant upasate tesham aham samudharta mrityu sansara sagara. Those who surrender all actions, including doership, and thus fruits of action to me, the manifest form, Supreme Lord, I quickly deliver them from the ocean of the mortal world of death. Sarva karma sannyas can be the only one that can be superior to meditation, because only with repeated meditation efforts in the manifest form of Bhagavan can the form become firm in the heart. As a result, in the passion of true love, the connection of I-ness and mindness in the body and senses naturally breaks, and after its success, peace is attained. Thus, this karma fal tyag of verse 12.12, interpreted as Sava karma sannyas of verse 12.6, is superior to meditation, and that is the correct interpretation of karma fal tyag of 12.11. Now, another misconception about Gita is that it is a religious scripture of Hinduism.
Yeah.
In reality, Gita provides the essence of Sanatan Dharma, often misunderstood even by Hindus.
Right.
Unfortunately, the British in the 19th century translated Dharma incorrectly as religion,
Right.
which has stuck even today.
Yes.
Dharma does not mean religion. Dharma means kartavya. Dharma means duty.
Yes. Responsibility.
Sanatan Dharma does not refer to any sectarian process of religion. Religion is based mainly on belief and faith.
Right.
It is primarily personal and bound to a time and space with various individual practices. Sanatana Dharma is not like that. It is only one, a non-qualified value system that applies to everyone. Sanatan means eternal and cannot be restricted within the boundaries of time, space, nation, caste, color, or creed. Religions such as Christianity or Islam are founded religions. Their founders are known individuals. Their dates are known. Sanatana Dharma is not established by an individual human being. It existed before the creation of the universe and will exist after the destruction of the universe. Now, some also call it a way of life. However, it is neither a religion nor just a way of life. Sanatana Dharma provides darshan, vision of Satya, the truth, Satya of Sarva, the truth of everything, the truth of Jiva, that is an individual, Jagat, the world, and Ishwar, the supreme imperishable reality, the truth of the observer, the observed scene, and the creator. Whatever is there, whatever exists, whether perceptible or imperceptible, is only the abhivyakti, expression, the manifestation of the supreme imperishable reality. Now, to acquire the vision of the truth, Sanatana Dharma has provided two things: a way of life and a vision of life. In the vision of life, the fourfold Purusharth to acquire the vision of the truth, Sanatana Dharma has provided one, a vision of life and a way of life. In the vision of life, the fourfold Purusharth, Dharma, Artha, Kam, and Moksha provided. In the way of life, the Varnashram system is provided, consisting of the fourfold Varna. Now, I define Varna as a functional class. The four Varnas being Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And the ashrams or the stages of life are Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanprasth, and Sannyas. So the way of life is not an end in itself. It is just a means. It is an instrument.
Right. So, sir,
The acts
mhm,
individuals perform to the body
mhm,
in these ashrams and in the varnas, people ought to do them righteously, and they should be doing them with their own intrinsic nature. And Bhagavad Gita, as you know, at the end of each chapter says, Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre.
mhm.
So Bhagavad Gita is Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra. So what is Brahma Vidya? Brahma Vidya is one that provides the knowledge of the true nature of the Atma. And what is Yoga Shastra? Yoga Shastra provides the means to remove the false resident in the conscience of individuals and make them fit for knowledge to realize the true nature of the self and gain eternal bliss. Now, another common misunderstanding is about the Varna system
Right.
that was structured and organized so individuals could best realize their potential and assist in harmoniously sustaining society.
Mhm.
individuals have different innate tendencies for work and exhibit a variety of personal attributes.
Right.
There are also natural phases in life when performing certain activities easier and more rewarding.
Hmm.
What you can do when you are young, you cannot do when you get old. Accordingly, Varna system was established by the distribution of duties based on one's nature and intrinsic attributes rather than birth.
Right.
Just being born in a Brahman family doesn't mean you are a Brahman. You have to be Brahman by your act.
Right.
You have to be able to know the Brahman
Hmm.
and be able to teach the knowledge of reality. So, and also the Varna system was not intended to represent superiority of one over the other.
Hmm.
Each Varna and ashram had its own specified function. What may be desirable for one section of society may be undesirable for another. Unfortunately, the Varna ashram system is maligned today and has lost its original intent. It is viewed as a social class or a caste system, anglicized from Portuguese casta. The Portuguese who came to India in the late 15th century, then the British, French, and Dutch, they all propagated an erroneous view of the Varnashram system
Hmm.
to convert Hindus. Today, people continue to wrongly assign Varna system, in fact, the functional class system, as caste based on birth, when in reality, the original intent was the assignment of karma sanskars. In the 13th verse of the 4th chapter, Bhagavan clearly says, Chatur Varnam Maya Srushtam Guna Karma Vibhagshah. The Chatur Varna, the four functional classes, was created by me according to the distinctions of Guna, the constituents of Prakriti, and Karma, actions of Prakriti. Another misinterpretation relates to the 46th verse of chapter 6, where Bhagavan says, Tasmat yogi bhavarjuna.
Hmm.
Hey Arjun, you become a yogi.
Hmm.
Well, there are several different meanings of the term yoga in the Gita.
Hmm.
Some practitioners of Hatha Yoga and modern day yoga have interpreted yoga in this or yoga in this verse as asana pranayama yoga. Such an interpretation is completely baseless. Just by becoming proficient in postures and breath control without establishing the mind with oneness in one's own witness conscious Atma, no one can get rid of duty and doership, sankalpa, resolves, and become a true yogi. To be steadfastly established with oneness in own witness conscious Atma is the meaning of the word yoga. Neither Hatha Yoga nor modern day yoga is the meaning of the word yoga in Gita.
Hmm.
From the top of a peak, Gita is one looking where there is no doer, no duty, no actions, and no sansar. But all these are fruitful by the supreme, imperishable reality, but nothing happens in that reality. These are the main ones that I thought I
Right.
should bring to your attention.
Yes, sir. Sir, after listening to you and while I'm just listening the things that you have mentioned, there was a thought that came across, like, don't you think that this karma, pattern of karma, the cycle of karma, right? And secondly, there are so many teachings, right, which should be introduced, which should be embedded, and it should be an initiative which should be taken by our government, right, for the students. So from like schools or colleges, there should be a subject related to it, so that our children of our country, or like all over in globe, they will able to understand the importance of living an authentic life, right, rather than imitating someone else. So what is your say, like, there should be, right, some initiative that can be taken?
Yeah, if you look at the history,
Yeah.
we used to have um, dharma or Sanskrit pathshalas.
Yes, like
They
Veda
were
Path. Veda
teaching
Path.
scriptures and everything,
Yeah.
and they were all stopped by the imperialists.
Hmm.
I think there is a need for us to go back to our roots,
Right.
back to our old Sanskrit pathshalas and talk about dharma,
Hmm.
because dharma is not religion. It talks about the moral principles that people ought to be living by. You know,
Right.
Gita provides knowledge to everyone, regardless of religion, you know, to realize who they are and achieve their ultimate objectives.
Right.
There are several important principles to be imbibed in one's life. For instance, not to hurt anyone mentally,
Yes.
verbally, or bodily by thoughts, words, and deeds. Only to utter, not to, only to utter unoffending, truthful, pleasant, and beneficial words. Resolve to abandon lust, anger, and greed. Partake only those foods that promote longevity, purity, power, health, happiness, and satisfaction, and are savory, stable, and pleasing to the heart. Learn to control the mind and have restraint over the senses. Have faith in the words of preceptors and scriptures. All that has to be taught really at the school level.
Right.
Remove mental vacillations through the practice of concentration and meditation. Desist vile objects. Learn tolerance to bear duties such as heat and cold, pleasure and pain, hunger and thirst. Resolve to remain in knowledge and undivided devotion to the Ishwar. And people ought to strive such qualities as absence of anger,
Right.
absence of attachment and excessive love for children, wife, or home.
Yes.
I mean, you should have love, but not excessive, and
Right.
should not be attached. Absence of fault finding, austerity, benevolence, charity,
Right.
constant even-mindedness in the acquisition of desired and undesired things. Dispassion, meaning aversion towards the worldly objects of the senses. Fearlessness, forgiveness, that is remaining undisturbed towards your offenders.
Right, sir.
Fortitude, gentleness, humility, kindness towards all living beings, non-violence, not to hurt anyone through the mind-body complex, purity, that is cleanliness, not only outside but also within, relinquishment of ego, repeated perception of evil and pain in birth, death, old age, and disease.
Right. Right.
Self-control, imposing discipline on the body, mind, and senses when they function against one's genuine interest, and confining activities in the righteous path. Self-study of scriptures, shyness, simplicity, that is straightforwardness, and absence of crookedness in all mental and vocal conduct related to eating, drinking, or clothing. Splendor, steadfastness, that's diverting the conscience from worldly activities and pursuing the path leading to eternal bliss, liberation, tranquility, truthfulness, uncovetousness, unostentatiousness, unwavering, undivided devotion to the supreme imperishable reality. So there are so many lessons
Right.
that we can all learn. Nothing to do with religion. They are all
Yes.
simple techniques. No matter who you are, if you follow them, you can get rid of confusion and you can be directed towards doing things that can give you eternal happiness and remove dukh.
Absolutely, sir. And we all need these things to get, like embedded in our life. So, sir, what do you think? What was the main reason of this epic Mahabharata war? We know that there are many like Draupadi's revenge, Dhritarashtra's love, Duryodhan's ruthlessness. But what was the main one? If we ask you, like, what was the one reason for this war?
Essentially, it was the conflict
Right.
of the Pandavas and Kauravas
Hmm.
related to righteousness.
Hmm.
The Kauravas unrighteously took away the kingdom of Pandavas,
Right.
and the Pandavas were righteously trying to regain their kingdom.
Hmm.
And that is why there was a war. So the war is between the righteous element and the unrighteous elements. And of course, when there is a battle,
Hmm.
there are individuals who have to decide whether they want to participate in the war.
Right.
There were righteous people on the side of the Kauravas, like the Bhishma Pitama, Drona, Krupacharya, but yet they fought for the unrighteous side because they had eaten the salt
Hmm.
of the Kauravas.
Right.
And that is why they had to take the side, even though they knew that they were on the wrong side.
Right. But sir, from this answer only, that I have a like another thought that in today's world, right, people are very much afraid to take a side or to take a stand, right? They are try to be a diplomatic in some way, right? So just for their personal benefit, or they don't want to get involved in any kind of you can say debate or any kind of conversation, right? So they are afraid to take a stand or particular side, whether it is right or wrong, but they are afraid to take a
Yeah, you are correct. I think what you are referring to is that in today's world,
yeah.
we find divisions everywhere.
Yes.
There are political divisions, ideological divisions, religious divisions, and national divisions, international divisions, and division between humans. Now, why do divisions and conflicts arise? They arise when there is a clash of interests, opinions, or principles associated with political, economic, environmental, and social inequities. Whether those inequities are real or perceived.
Right, right.
So essentially, it is the question of discrimination or determination of determination of those positions that are righteous, and that can be only done through the right wisdom. Okay, it can be only done through discernment. Now, whether these conflicts and challenges are within ourselves, or these challenges are with our families or friends or professional associates or communities, or
Right.
whether they involve leaders of businesses or government, or whether they are national or international. Gita as Yoga Shastra. Remember, I talked about Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra. The Yoga Shastra is the portion that provides the means. It provides effective means to bridge the divisional gap, remove the conflicts, and promote greater understanding and compassion among all. At the individual level, the root cause is the ignorance of not knowing one's true nature. It is the ignorance knowing the mind-body complex as the I, rather than the pervasive divine conscious element, the self, the supreme imperishable reality that exists in every living being, irrespective of whether you are a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian or a Sikh. It's the same divine conscious element makes us aware of the world around us. So if one sees only one divine element in all beings, all distinctions and limitations will vanish. There will be no room for division and conflict.
Right.
And when you are talking about at a broader scale, at the macro level, at the leadership level, Bhagavad Gita encourages leader to lead by example.
Right.
And there are shlokas, and we can discuss that later on. It is important that those in leadership or in a position of influence, they ought to set a positive example and act according to moral and ethical principles, because others will emulate them. If they give a bad example, people are going to follow the bad example. So it is incumbent upon the leaders to set a good example. Gita also teaches the importance of developing equanimity of mind, which is very important when we start talking about conflicts in conflict resolution. Equanimity means to have evenness between both sides. Another quality Gita teaches is the importance of the principle of mutual dependence.
Right.
Leaders ought to outgrow their own vision from the narrow perspective of what is in it for me. Leaders ought to outgrow their vision from the narrow perspective of what is in it for me to an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of people in the place that they associate with. Leaders should neither be afraid of anyone, nor they should generate any sense of fear in others. They should develop ability to transform people and entities that come in their contact in a sustained fashion and leave behind an impact that guides a large number of people and organizations for a long time to come.
Yes.
Even today, the position taken by Mahatma Gandhi of Satyagraha, people are still following.
Yes, yes.
Indeed, Gita is a timeless guide that provides knowledge and logic relevant to today's world to promote greater mutual understanding and compassion, to find inner peace, purpose, and true success in life. It gives the wisdom to discover priorities in life and the right set of life values. It helps individuals to find the right path and make the right choices in difficult times.
Yes.
Gives deep insights into wise and house of daily life. Now, irrespective of one's faith, living a righteous, duty-bound life helps one gain emotional, cognitive growth.
Right.
Gita induces inner strength, providing the ability to manage one's emotions and reactions. It provides the right method of how to do karma. Karma comes, yoga karma sukaushalam. Skill in action is yoga. You go to do your karma skillfully. For suitable inner growth, one needs to commit to one's responsibilities, one's duties. One should live with commitment, that is duties first, then fulfill desires or fancies. By its regular study, which you talked about, that you got to introduce at the grassroots levels to younger children, right from kindergarten onwards,
Yes.
the study and practice. Because study itself is not enough. You got to put in practice.
Right.
One can experience remarkable changes in one's perspective, and one's life can become calmer, happier, and more content. As Bhagavan says, Atma Rati and Atma Trupti, that is attained by the right practice of the principles of Bhagavad Gita.
So very well said, sir. And it's so much of learnings. Like, yes. So, sir, which is your favorite part from the book?
Okay. So there are many, okay, but I will take a few and try to briefly summarize.
Yes.
The most important one, and a lot of people are talking about, is Bhagavad Gita in slokas 47 and 48 of chapter 2. Karmanya vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhute ma sangostva karmani yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhayo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. I mean, without translating it, the intent is to perform own duties and actions without being attached to the results or outcomes. The emphasis on detachment and encouragement to do the best without worrying about the consequences. Stay focused on the present moment and perform duties with sincerity and dedication. By doing so, it leads one to better outcomes. And we should avoid the trap of inaction and laziness, reminding us of our responsibility to fulfill our duties and obligations. And one ought to perform our duties with equanimity of mind in success or failure. Because your right is only in action, not in the fruit of your action anytime.
Right.
You should not be impelled by the fruits of action.
Exactly. So,
the other one is Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha Paradharmat Swadustishtati Swadharmam Nidhanam Shreya Padharma Bhayavaha, which is the 35th verse of chapter 3.
Okay.
And the meaning is, it is better to perform one's own duties even if they have shortcomings, rather than performing perfectly someone else's duties. Performing someone else's duties can lead to fear and uncertainty, while performing one's own duties, when it's own duties, swadharma, intrinsic duties, one is accustomed to do on the basis of one's nature, it brings fulfillment and contentment. Therefore, we should only focus on swadharma, intrinsic duty, and perform it to the best of one's ability. Again, in chapter 2, shlok 14 is an important one. It says, Matra sparsha tu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkada agama payano nitya stan titikshasva bharata. He says, Bhagavan says, Hey Krishna, hey Arjun, context of senses with their objects cause cold and heat, pleasure and pain. Indeed, they come and go and do not last. Therefore, endure them. The dualities such as cold and heat, pleasure and pain are transient and do not last. They are dreamlike. They are only felt during the period of their manifestation. Since they are temporary, because they don't have the beginning or the end, they only appear in the middle,
Right.
like a snake in a rope.
Hmm.
They are temporary and mere perceptions, so they should be endured. The other one is the 19th verse of chapter 3. Tasmat asaktaha satatam karyam karma samachara asakto hi acharan karma parmapnoti purushaha. Therefore, always perform duty-bound action properly without attachment. For a person attains supreme status by performing action without attachment. I mean, here the importance of detachment
Right.
is expressed. And the same thing is expressed in chapter 15 also. The Asanga Shastra has been expressed there, that you need to use the Asanga Shastra to remove the bandhan of karma. So the importance of detachment is expressed while performing duties and actions. Another one is the 21st verse of chapter 3. And I think I've discussed that earlier with you about leaders. Yad yad acharati shrestha tat tat deve taro janah yasa pramanam kurute lokas tadunu vartate. Whatever a great person does, other people also do. Whatever standard that great person sets, humanity follows. So, from the perspective of public well-being, others follow and behave similar to whatever conduct, achar, a great person exhibits. I mean, people tend to follow actions of those who they consider great or important.
Right.
Therefore, as an important lesson in leadership for people of influence is to set positive example. Another one is very important, and it is used to describe the qualities of a sthita prajna, person of stable wisdom. Shlok verses 70 of chapter 2, and I will not recite the Sanskrit verse. That verse says, just as water enters an immovably established ocean filled from all sides, in the same way in whom all desires enter, he attains peace, and not the one who desires sense objects. That is, one whose heart has become immovably solemn like an ocean, filled with direct intuitive knowledge. I am not a desire, there is no desirable object in me, and I am not a doer of desire. In that ocean of heart, even though numerous rivers of desires enter, yet they cannot produce any agitation. Such a sage of stable wisdom attains peace, and not the one who has desires for sense objects. Another one, verse 17 of chapter 3. Yastvatmarati eva syadatma truptascha manavah atmanyeva cha santushtas tasya karyam na vidyate. That person who solely rejoices in the self, who is content in the self, and who is satisfied solely in the self, for him there is no duty. Really, this is the quality of a self-realized person, one who is established in the self, one who is a self-realized person, always rejoices in the self, is content in the self, and is satisfied solely in the self. You know, the bondage of banks in the flow of a river is there so that the river can become one with the ocean and become free from the bondage of the banks. Or a patient is kept in the bondage of medicine and dietary regimen so that once cured, he can be free from medicine and dietary regimen. Not that he remains in their bondage for a long time.
Right.
In essence, all bondages, after satisfying their goal, are there for freedom from them. So according to this rule, a person who is content in his own Atma is naturally free from all bondages, not by any effort, with effortlessly. That is similar to how infants naturally stop breastfeeding when they start eating solid food upon the development of teeth. It's natural.
Right. So, sir, before wrapping up this session, I would like to know what message you want to give to all of your readers.
To give the message,
Yes.
I would like to talk about two very important verses of Bhagavad Gita. The 66th verse of the 18th chapter and the last verse of Gita, the 78th verse of chapter 18. The 66th verse says, and by the way, I've used that in the end of my book, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mama Ekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Yashyami Ma Shuchaha. Give up all duties, seek refuge in me alone, grieve not, I shall free you from all sins. That's very important to understand what this means, some people have wrongly used the word dharma. They say, oh, Gita says, convert your religion. No. Gita doesn't say religion. This does not mean religion. This means dharma, the duty. So, and what duties? All duties, such as duties of individuals, duties of family, the Varna duty, the duty of the functional classes, the duty of the ashrams, when in each of the ashrams, the duties in the region of the leaders, duties prescribed in the sacrifice, charity, austerities, and whatever other duties that are, surrender them all, come to my refuge alone. Now, you cannot come to that state without doing those duties righteously. Only after doing those righteous duties desirelessly, the doership ego can be removed in all acts by the conscience becoming pure. Right. So the whole message of Karma Yoga is to do your karma without attachment to action, do them desirelessly and without kartvutva ahankar. Okay, so when you do that, the impurities that I talked about earlier, Kam, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Matsar, all of those are purged because Rajo Guna is gone and giving rise to the Sattva Guna, which makes you qualified to get involved in bhakti so that you can concentrate through Ananya Bhakti and get a position in the Param Tattva. So what Bhagavan is saying is that you do the duties in the beginning, but once you're done, once you have achieved the purity of the conscience, then surrender everything. You don't have to do any of those duties, Only come to my refuge. So what is sought here is freedom from karma. See, just as rivers flowing through varied paths are there to enter the ocean, in the same way, all duties, all righteous acts, through their performance directly or through parampara, succession, are there only for attaining oneness in me, the Atma of all. All these acts remain righteous as long as they are helpful and not obstacles in attaining me. However, whenever they become obstacles, as their performance is not righteous, it is one's duty to abandon them. Abandoning all distinctions of I, you, and the limited vision, and merging in the pure Brahman, the underlying support of the entire perceptible world, is here the attainment of the exclusive refuge of the Lord.
Right.
That's supreme status is the goal of all acts of righteousness. And reaching there, one attains freedom from all sins in the transmigratory life of birth and death. Now, the last verse, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno, Yatra Partho Dhanurdara, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno, Yatra Partha Dhanurdara, Tratra Shri Vijayo Bhuti Dhruva Matirmama. On the side where the Lord of Yoga, of whom all yoga are born, Sri Krishna, is, and Arjun, the bearer of the great bow Gandiva, is, definitely dwells auspiciousness, victory, prosperity, and stable order. That is my opinion. It emphasizes that true victory and prosperity come from righteousness and morality, and that the divine presence can guide and lead one toward this path of righteousness. Regardless of how much time and effort we put into any action, we cannot be assured of success. The success of any action depends on many factors, but it boils down to two major things: Purusharth, effort,
Right.
and the grace of Ishwar. If either aspect is missing, actions will not be successful. Purusharth alone cannot guarantee a result, and neither can waiting for Bhagwan's grace without any effort on the part of the individual. Liberation from bondage, realizing one's true nature, is not possible purely through effort. We must perform our duty selflessly in a spirit of service to Bhagwan, without any other person or object as our goal. Selfless, devoted service to Bhagwan, combined with His grace, will result in progress and success in the spiritual journey. Without Ishwar's grace, nothing is possible.
Yes, nothing is possible. So, thank you, sir, for sharing your insights. And it has been amazing talking to you. And for all of us who is watching this video, we have so many takeaways from this session. So, to the viewers, you can check details about Dr. Bharat Patel work and details as mentioned in bio. Thank you, sir, for giving us your time.
Thank you very much. And by the way, my experience
Yes, sir.
with your publication company has been profoundly gratifying. I can express it in 5 simple words: gratifying experience of proficient service. let me thank you once again to give me the opportunity to express my views, even though in a short time it is difficult to condense the vast ocean of knowledge that is embedded in Bhagavad Gita.
Yes.
Hopefully, I, as his humble servant, has made an effort to present his views
Right.
in the best possible way that I can. Thank you very much. And thanks to the viewers.
Thank you so much, sir. And we will try our best that your message through this video will able to reach to the relevant audience. Those are looking for the directions and guidance. So,
By the way,
yeah.
the book is being revised because it has almost 750,000 words, and I had to complete the review of it in a fast time. So I had used Grammarly, a big mistake on my part to use Grammarly, because unnoticed I realized that there were some errors created by the use of Grammarly, which I did not pick up till after the hard copy was done. And you folks are kind enough to work on it, and hopefully we will issue the second edition correcting those errors. The next book that is going to be coming out pretty soon is the same concept for a broader audience, searching happiness. Essentially the same principle of Bhagavad Gita, but in a much condensed, like 120 pages, 6x9 size. You can read in an hour and grasp essentially what Bhagavan is saying in Bhagavad Gita. And you would not even know that it's Bhagavad Gita, but that's the message.
Wow, great, sir. We will be waiting for the same. And thank you, sir. Thank you for giving your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.